And I thought it was puberty, but thinking back and looking at photographs of me, I was a chubby little child, right?
Mm.
Now, chubby little children are adorable and great. But but I just look at pictures, and my best friend was half Spanish, half Irish, and she was beautiful. She was like a Madonna, and she
Mm.
was slim, and everyone would say, "Oh, isn't Patricia so beautiful?" And I was just a chubby fat kid. My thighs chafed against the shorts. I had a face like a great big balloon. And I remember being quite young and we'd go to clothes shops and they'd get Patricia out some jeans and they'd say, oh, we better get that other one, the much bigger size. So,
Mm.
and I remember feeling shame.
When everything around you is totally out of control, the one thing you can control is your body.
Yeah.
That's yours, and you can
Yes.
you can do what you want with it. So you can control what goes in and goes out.
I wanted to go back to the bit where I could run and jump and people, and I wasn't getting men leering at me. You're right, it's awful.
Mm.
Getting whistled at, it's awful. And so that built on the shame I already had of my body.
Mm.
I just wanted not to be in my body. And then my father left home and there
Mm.
was all sorts of stuff around that. So can you imagine? I'm 59. So what you're talking about, I've had many, many, many years, decades of all this. I've done Weight Watchers, I've done Slim Fast, I've bought the Montignac Dark Book, I've done cabbage soup, I've done blah, blah, blah. I've done literally, I'm one of those people that the diet industry loves.
Yeah,
Endless amounts of dieting.
yeah.
And when you lose weight, people say to you, wow, you look amazing.
Hello and welcome to Lucy Cavendish's podcast. I am not Lucy Cavendish, as you can probably tell. Um, but I'm with Lucy today because
You
we're
have to
going.
say who you are.
Oh yes, sorry, I am Sarah Vine. Sorry, that's Lucy on the other screen. And I'm here because Lucy wrote a brilliant piece in the Daily Mail about how she's having lost 4 stone on whatever it was, Mount Jaro, Ozempic,
Yes,
combination of
Manjaro,
all.
Manjaro, yeah.
She's finally living her best life and wishes that she'd done it sooner because then she could have been a thin person forever. And this is just, honestly, Lucy, I think so many people, including myself, who have used these jabs feel exactly the same. I look back and think, God, all those years I wasted being fat when I could have actually been thin and
Yeah,
fabulous. It's quite
yeah,
interesting, isn't it? The
yeah.
psychological. So, for everyone talks about the physical side effects of these jabs. Oh, whether they give you gallstones or will make you have a saggy face or whatever. But what I think is really interesting about these fat jabs is the psychological effects of them, and I think they are really significant.
Right. I'm really thank you for saying that because I've had a huge response to the piece and lots and lots and lots of positive stuff, especially from people that are on them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Who want some affirmation that this is how it is. I've had a lot of people saying, well, you shouldn't be on them, medication's bad, you should just, exercise more and eat less. And I just want to say to everybody, I do know that, right?
Sorry about the cat.
Because I'm an intelligent person. So if that was working for me,
Yeah.
I would be a size
But
10
but
by working
you
out
see,
of
that's like saying to someone who has got diabetes, oh, we don't, why are you taking insulin? Why don't you just make your own insulin? Or
yes, all
I mean, it's a ridiculous argument because it's assuming that the person who is taking the drug to lose weight has not already tried
yeah,
every other possible imaginable scenario to try and get the weight off.
yeah,
They're and that is an argument that infuriates me beyond all measure
yeah. It
because
infuriates me.
I've
Yeah,
had a weight problem all of my life for a lot of reasons. I have really underactive thyroid that doesn't work at all. Genetically, we're Labradors in my family. We tend to kind of
yeah, we're Labradors.
run to fat. There's lots of reasons why people put on weight, stress, depression, all of these things. And the fat shaming that goes on around these drugs is really drives me insane.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to write about, not just the physical, but the psychological. So I've been thinking a lot about where it started, right? So all of us will have a story about when I got fat or when my relationship with my body and food and my psyche got out of kilter.
Mm.
And I thought it was puberty, but thinking back and looking at photographs of me, I was a chubby little child, right?
Mm.
Now, chubby little children are adorable and great. But that I mean, but I just look at pictures, and my best friend was half Spanish, half Irish, and she was beautiful. She was like a Madonna, and she
Mm.
was slim, and everyone would say, "Oh, isn't Patricia so beautiful?" And I was just a chubby fat kid. My thighs chafed against the shorts. I had a face like a great big balloon. And I remember being quite young and we'd go to clothes shops and they'd get Patricia out some jeans and they'd say, oh, we better get that other one, the much bigger size. So,
Mm.
and I remember feeling shame
Yeah,
really
humiliation.
early on.
Absolute.
Really, I was what,
Yeah.
8? I
Yeah.
couldn't fit into the same job as her. I couldn't put
You'd failed.
yeah. And I
You were
remember
a
going
failure.
into those shops and being raspberry colored because I knew that she was going to slip in, not her fault, bless her, slip into the tiny things, and I was going to be put into sort of the child plus size stuff.
Mm.
And it's awful.
Mm.
It's just
I
awful.
had I had a very similar. It was interesting. I was a very skinny child, like really skinny. And then when I hit puberty, and I think something went wrong with my hormones and my thyroid, I started to put on weight. And I had a very similar experience with my mother, who was always
Mm.
incredibly slim and fabulous. And I used to go to things with my mother, and she was the one who was, in the size 8 jeans, and I
Yeah.
was the one in the size 16. And I was, 15, 17 or 18, and it was just heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. It's horrible. And so I had that show. My sister was very slim.
Mm.
And then at some point, just before puberty, I massively slimmed down. I was playing netball, and I look at school photographs, and everyone was thin. I think because we didn't have any food. I think my parent, no one fed any. I mean, we literally ate tiny amounts of food. I just think
Mm.
no one ate very much.
Mm.
We didn't eat very good quality food. And people say, "Oh, it's because you had better food." No, we had boiled in the bag cod.
Mm.
We had spaghetti out of a tin. We had mushrooms out of a tin. My mother wasn't a cook. It's not about the quality of food. But
Mm.
I played netball and I was slim and blah, blah, blah. And then some things all happened at the same time. I hit puberty. I had sort of bad skin. I was put on the pill for my
Yeah,
bad
that
skin.
often, and it's very interesting, the pill
They put
thing.
you on the pill for anything,
Yeah.
right? So I
And they
bought
always say, oh, there's no evidence that it makes you put on weight. It does. Every single
bullshit.
person I've
Yeah,
ever
bollocks.
known who's gone on the pill has put on weight. It
Yeah,
does. It makes you put on
absolute
weight.
bollock. Yeah, and this is back a long time ago. So my body went from a lithe sort of adolescent
Mm.
boy body, I guess, to
Mm.
being a woman. What felt like overnight. I grew. I've got like size whatever F. My breasts are big. Right? I mean, I no two ways about it. And I went from this to
Mm.
booby, hips, bottom. Now, I'm sure it was great. I'm sure it was curvy and wonderful, but I really, really, really didn't like it. I was really disturbed by it, and I started to hate my body. And
Yes,
like,
I think
I
that's
hated my body.
but I think that's such an interesting thing because I had exactly the same experience. And as a result, I started to attract male attention.
Yeah,
And
which I also didn't want.
I found it really upsetting and disturbing and oppressive because I wasn't ready for the male attention. My body
Yeah.
had sort of kind of was running ahead of my, I don't know, I guess my sort of psychological readiness, and I was really scared by it, and I felt really intimidated, but also really guilty and really grubby that all these men were suddenly paying attention to me because I had knockers. And I found that, and it wasn't just young men, it wasn't just teenagers my age,
No.
it was older men as well, particularly, and that was
Yes.
really difficult to deal with. And so at a very young age, I learned to hate my curves because they were giving me so many problems.
Yes.
They were just difficult. And also, not only were they attracting all the wrong attention, they're very hard to dress. The world
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
not
Yeah.
give
No,
you
impossible.
know, it's really if you're a skinny, raily person, then you can wear anything you want. But the
Yeah.
world, modern fashion doesn't cater for women with shapes. And just this whole sort of, oh God, all these lumps and bumps, and I just really hated it.
So it's really interesting. There's lots of stuff around that, but I guess it's interesting. I probably had that experience that people have. of not wanting to be in my body. I didn't want to be in my body. I wanted to go back to the bit where I could run and jump and people, and I wasn't getting men leering at me. You're right, it's awful.
Mm,
Getting whistled at, it's awful. And so that built on the shame I already had of my body.
mm,
I just wanted not to be in my body. And so, and then my father left home, and there
mm,
was all sorts of stuff around that. I felt so sad and upset and
mm.
anxious and depressed. And I think I got it into my head that if I was prettier or
Dinner.
basically thinner
Yeah.
and I was still the little girl that he loved, he would come home and we'd
Yeah.
all be fine. And
Yeah.
I just basically started starving myself.
Mm,
I put
yeah.
all these pictures of models all over my bedroom wall, and I would count all my calories, and then I would jiggle and jiggle and jiggle to get rid of them. And my mother would give me dinner, and I'd say I'm going to eat upstairs, and I would just throw the dinner out
Well,
of my
I
room.
did the exact, I mean, funnily enough, I did exactly the same thing. And I think it
Mm.
was about, well, I think it was a number of factors. Number one, when you're really unhappy and not comfortable in your body, is a sort of sense that you'd like to almost disappear, erase yourself, just
Yes.
become less than, smaller, less visible. You want to be less visible, because you don't want the attention. So you want to try and find a way of becoming transparent, literally, physically, so
Mhm.
small that people can, you turn sideways and you disappear.
Mm.
But I think there's also an element of feeling out of control. So you feel out of control because all this, this stuff is happening. And, in your case, your father, I had a similar sort of situation. But and I think the only when everything around you is totally out of control, the one thing you can control is your body.
Yeah.
That's yours, and you can
Yes.
you can do what you want with it. So you can control what goes in and goes out. And I remember that feeling of control and of being incredibly sort of strict with myself about what I would eat, and also doing all the exercise as well. And I also remember feeling suddenly, and I think it's a kind of high that comes with not eating properly. You feel sort of kind of morally superior to the rest of the world.
Yes. Yes, that's
Get
right. 'Cause
that?
you're so thin. Yeah, and everyone
So
goes, "Oh
you
my
look at
God,
other
you look
people
so
and you say,
amazing."
oh,
Yeah.
you're eating. I
Yes,
don't have
yes, yes. Oh,
that.
I'll just play with the pudding. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's really true.
Weird.
You somehow feel better than and superior to those
Yeah.
people with no willpower.
Yeah. And I
But
think
meanwhile,
that
you're
feeds,
shrinking
yeah.
away.
And I think all of that
Shrinking.
feeds into this general kind of fat shaming thing that goes on, which is
Absolutely.
it's a very real thing, which is that people as associate being overweight with some sort of moral lassitude or failure or,
Yeah, or you're stupid, or you've got no self-control, or how can
yeah,
you let yourself go like that? Yeah.
exactly. And so people who are naturally thin are, are considered to be superior. And
Mm.
it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I when I'm around, so I have all sorts of children with all sorts of different relationships with food, but one of them just eats because he eats to live. He eats just to function, right? He doesn't, and I look at him and I think, wow,
But
wow.
but
He
Lucy,
doesn't sit there planning. I mean, I used to wake up and plan when can I
yeah, no,
eat? What
you
am I
the
going to
food
eat?
no, you're talking about food noise now.
Food noise, food noise, food noise,
Yeah.
food. And people that say things like, why don't you just move more and eat less? We all know that, right? We all know that. But they don't know what it's like to have started out from where we're talking about.
Mm.
Because that's where it starts.
And
It's
also,
messed up from the age of 4 or 5. That's where
exactly,
it starts.
food becomes an obsession. And it's like it's like you have an addiction, right? But if you're addicted to alcohol or cigarettes or drugs or whatever, you can live without those substances. You won't die if you don't have them. So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
can stop taking them. If you're addicted to food for whatever reason, psychological, emotional, blah, 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 you are addicted to a substance that you can never disconnect from. You can
Yeah.
never sever your tie with that addiction. So every day you have to manage your addiction.
It's
That's why,
exhausting. It's
yeah.
exhausting.
And it's really tiring and
Absolutely exhausting.
exhausting. So
And people, yes.
every day you get up and you have to think, okay, I've got to have this relationship with this thing that, which to me is actually really toxic. but I don't have any choice because if I don't eat, I'll die. And the thing about the GLP-1s, the Ozempics and the Mounjaros, is they take that away. They
Yeah.
free you from that.
God, I cannot tell you. I mean, that started off from then on. My father didn't come home. It didn't matter if I was fat or thin or anything else. So then I think I was probably anorexic, but again, back then somehow my father took me on holiday, and because he was loving me, really nice when I started eating. Then I
Mm,
started eating like a hog. I was
mm.
literally pulling out pizzas from the freezer and couldn't stop eating. I wasn't bulimic. I couldn't make myself be sick. So I was
No.
eating and eating and eating. And then I got fat. And then I went and lived in Africa as a volunteer, and then I got thin. And essentially, throughout my life, I've had times when I've been a size 16. There are times where I've been a size 10. Never been smaller than a size 10, that's fine. But I have very rarely stayed
Mm,
steady. I've
mm.
not. So can you imagine? I'm 59. So what you're talking about? I've had many, many, many years, decades of all this. I've done Weight Watchers, I've done Slim Fast, I've bought the Montignac Dark book, I've done cabbage soup, I've done blah, blah, blah. I've done literally, I'm one of those people that the diet industry loves,
Yeah,
endless amounts of dieting.
yeah.
And when you lose weight, people say to you, wow, you look amazing.
You're amazing.
And
Well
you
done.
go into the changing room and you can put on a size 12, which is a perfectly lovely size, and you don't have a muffin top. And then I got pregnant, and then I ballooned in weight because I was so delighted I could just eat without having to sort of
Yeah,
chastise myself. And it just goes on and on and on. Just
yeah.
goes on and on. And then one day someone says, the doctor says, there's this weight loss jab. And you think, well, I don't know. Because at that point, actually, I'd settled myself. I was like, okay, I'm a size 16, 14 at a push. But actually, I do yoga, I do my dance classes. I'm at an age when I just don't care anymore, really. So there we go. Um, Put me on the scales and said you're obese and it's threatening your health, could potentially threaten your health. Why don't you try it?
Hmm.
Oh my word. I was like, I started it, didn't have any side effects, stopped thinking about food, put myself a plate of food, couldn't finish it. Wowzer. And the weight started coming off.
Yeah,
It,
it makes you eat. I think, for me, it makes me eat about a third of what I would normally eat.
mm,
So, but so I've actually been on these things for a very long time because I am 58, and when I was in my early 50s, my weight had sort of really crept up. And menopause, I had early menopause, and so I had early menopause, terrible thyroid that had just completely stopped functioning. So rare, very slow metabolic rate. And, also I have kind of arthritis, so that limits a bit um, the sort of exercise I can do. I do exercise actually. I do weight training, and I've always done that, and I'm good at that. And I do, but those things that I mean, they always say that losing weight is 80% diet, 20% exercise, unless
yes,
you're
the doctor said, he said, you're
yeah,
post-menopause,
yeah.
great, you're exercising, but that's
Yeah.
not how you're going to lose
It's
weight.
not going to make you lose weight. So unless you're an elite athlete, which obviously I'm not.
Or
Um,
you're young,
or
right?
you're young, exactly. So I'd been off and I'd gone to the Mayo Clinic in Switzerland and
Yes,
I'd
I've
done
been
one of
there.
those sort of draconian things and I was doing intermittent fasting and I came back and then the weight started to come back and I was just like, oh God. So I thought to myself, I'm going to get a gastric band because that's just a physical barrier to eating too much. And a friend of mine had got a gastric band and she said it was really good and it had really helped. So, it was a gastric balloon. It wasn't a gastric band. It was a balloon, I think.
Mm,
Anyway, reversible.
mm,
So I
mm.
went to see this chap, and he said, actually, we've just got this licensed drug from America, and at the time it was a daily injection, Saxenda. I think you should try it. And I tried it. And so this would have been about 6 years ago. And it worked, and it was
Mm,
amazing.
mm,
And then after about a year, he said, oh, they've just licensed a weekly jab, which is
mm.
much more convenient. And actually, he said, I think it's much better. And he had sort of sight of all the sort of early trials that they were doing on it. And they actually ran massive trials on this stuff.
Mm.
it was originally, it was designed as a sort of a drug for pre-diabetics, which at the time I would have become. I was pre-diabetic, and I would have become. And diabetes is a thing in my family.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what we get, and I was worried about that. And so for me, it's just been. I mean, I am, to be perfectly honest, I am a size 16. So I'm not, I'm someone who is on Mounjaro and is a size 16.
Mm, mm.
So I'm a big girl, always was a big girl. I think probably always will be. So, it hasn't turned me into a skinny mini, but what it has done is it's allowed me to have a stable weight and to
Yeah,
control the weight.
yeah,
And it means that even though I have the sort of metabolism of a necrotic snail, I'm not, because, my endocrinologist said, well, really, you shouldn't really have more than 1,200 calories a day.
yes, I
Well,
know.
that's very little. But
Very little actually.
and
Yeah,
also when you work like you and I do, and you do these very intense jobs, you get hungry. You
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
your
yeah,
brain
yeah,
needs food.
yeah,
If I try and restrict myself, I get brain fog. I can't
yeah,
work. I can't
yeah,
think.
yeah.
So these things are brilliant, but going back to your piece, which was that you've lost 4 stone, and now this whole life that you have as a thin person, I think that's just it, that is about the kind of joy of not being in this tyrannical relationship with food, and I think it's very good for one's mental health. I genuinely think that I am happier. I know that not being fat makes me happy. And
Yeah.
I know that there are lots of people out there who are very much into their body positivity, and
Yes.
and that's fine. But for me personally, being overweight makes me want to kill myself. Genuinely, it
Yeah.
makes me
Yeah.
so depressed.
Yeah. I know.
I have moments of real self-loathing. Uh,
Mm.
I can remember punching myself in the stomach because I hated my stomach so much. That's where I get to with it, and just being so frustrated and so full of sort of self-loathing that I'm this disgusting creature that has too much flesh on it. It's really bizarre, and
Yeah.
it's quite. I don't know if you ever felt like that, but for
No,
me, it's
I mean,
quite a
it's a horrible. I mean, I think I
strong
just have
feeling.
body dysmorphia. I actually thought I was quite not slim, but I just. And I remember trying to get on an aeroplane when I wasn't pregnant, right?
Mm,
So this happened quite a few times, and the air hostess in Spain wouldn't let me on because she thought I was pregnant. So she didn't just think I was pregnant; she thought I was like over 36 weeks pregnant, and I wasn't pregnant. And then
mm.
a woman, I remember about not that long ago, 5 years ago, and I certainly was too old to be pregnant, got up from a seat on the bus and said, "No, no, sit." I was like, "Why?" She was like, "Well, you know." And people around me, I mean, so they didn't just think I was a few weeks pregnant; they
If
thought I
you were
was
9 months
heavily,
pregnant, yeah.
heavily pregnant, and I wasn't.
Mm.
But the weirdest thing was that I wasn't, I think I'd got in the same way that when I was very skinny as a teenager and I would look in the mirror, I wouldn't see a skinny person. I would still see a fat person, even though I was obviously very slim. I look back at pictures and I can see I was very slim. When I was all big, sometimes I just didn't sort of really see that I was big. So I think I've got some odd body dysmorphia.
No,
And
no,
now,
no. I think that's no. I don't think that's right. I don't think you're unusual in that. I think that because whenever I've got big, it's always taken me by surprise.
yes, yes. So when people were
It's
getting
like
up saying, "Oh no, sit," I was like,
it's like it happens overnight, and I wake up, I go, oh my God, why am I
"Oh
so
my
fat?
God, I've suddenly got fat." Um, I think all that sort of I mean now when people say things like I went out met someone the other day, a new person I don't know that well, and he said, "Gosh, you're so slim," and I just thought again he was talking to someone behind me because
Yeah.
again I haven't fully inhabited
Yeah.
the world of the slim person, but what I have noticed is people treat you differently. I'm
Okay.
exactly the same
This is so
person.
interesting. So it's like pretty privilege. My daughter talks
Yeah.
about pretty privilege, which is a very
Mm.
Gen Z thing. It's slim privilege.
Yeah.
Slim
Yeah.
privilege.
Yeah.
People who are thin are treated much better by society because society thinks they're virtuous. And
And they're in control. And somehow
and
you're rich, or there's something about, I don't know, if you're slim somehow, I don't know, you're to a higher social strata or something, unless you're scraggy.
There's almost no greater compliment that you can pay a woman than to say, "Oh my God, you're so thin. Are you okay?"
Yes, but of
Uh,
course that's not
it's not, but I
great
mean that. But let's
thing.
be honest. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean,
Mm.
that is just what happens, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. What I'm really interested in, what I really want to hear from people is I want people who are like us, however that feels, to know that it starts somewhere. It's not because they haven't got self-control. It's not because, they're lazy. It's not because they don't know they should be eating. We all know you should be eating salmon, brown rice, and then a chia seed pudding. We all know that, right? I used to think, oh, what if I ate a packet of biscuits and I didn't eat dinner? Those are the deals, those of us that have difficult relationships with food and think we're making deals all the time. If I have an ice cream, I won't have dinner. If I have a pudding, I won't have breakfast.
Food
We're
maths.
constantly
Food
doing food
maths.
maths, calorie counting, constantly, unless we're asleep. And even then, we're probably dreaming about how many calories we're getting rid of in our sleep. And to live like that is awful. It's just awful. It takes up time. You end up going, not wanting to put on clothes, not wanting to go out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then you're surrounded by friends who seem to eat 25 eclairs and they don't put on any weight and they say things like, "Oh, I've never been fat," and you want to kill them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
Mm.
the thing is with that on that, the person who's a very nice gastroenterologist actually called Marcus Reddy, who's really good. And when I first went on these jabs, he explained to me that it's all about hunger hormones. So he said it's very simple. He said human biology hasn't really changed since
Mm.
we sort of came down from the trees or up from the sea or whatever it is you think we did. He said basically we are programmed to live in an environment where there is very little food. It takes a lot of energy to get the food. And then when you get the food, you eat all the food because you don't know when you're next going to get the food. So that's basically what we're programmed to do. We're sort of, lions effectively. We'll make a
Yeah.
kill once a week, eat the whole thing, lie there,
And then lie around
thankfully,
for a week. Yeah.
lie around farting for a week, and then go, oh, need some more food. Off we go. But so food insecurity is, and he said the thing is, from an evolutionary point of view, the people who succeeded genetically in terms of reproducing and managing to feed their children and keep their children alive and have more children were the ones that were best at this. So, basically the human Labradors, so who could eat an enormous quantity of food and store it very effectively in fat and all of that and have reserves. And those
Mm.
are the ones that so and now you have a sort of human population that has evolved in that way. And now you have a society where there is limitless amount of food. And that's what's changed. We haven't changed. So
Mm.
if you are sort of, and if your hunger, so if your hormones are engineered to make you eat as much food as you possibly can, because you never know when the next mastodon is going to come from, and you live in a world where there's all the food in the world everywhere, it's very difficult. You're trying to basically counter your nature. And
Yes.
as we know, hormones are the most powerful drugs on this planet.
Mm.
They
Mm.
are. They're
Yes.
the drugs that, make you fall in love, make you have
Mm.
babies,
Mm.
make you do kind of crazy things. And
Mm.
so you're just so when we at the beginning of this conversation we were talking about food addiction. Actually, what you're trying to do when you overeat, you're trying to counter your body's absolute determination to make you eat, and it's hormones, and they are so difficult to fight
Yes.
because they're designed to compel you to do
Do that.
certain
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the way these drugs work is they work on those hormones and they
Yes.
suppress that urge. And well, they also do other things, which is that they sort of slightly well, in some cases they slow down the digestion of the food, so it just takes longer to go through you. But the principal thing is the hormone is the way they act on the hormones, and so there's a biology there that people don't understand or appreciate, and some people don't have this. Some people
Yes.
are very
Yes.
able to just ignore their this particular type
Yes.
of hormone, and they're the ones who are wandering around going, "Well, I don't know why you've got such a problem. Why you?
Yes.
I've never had a problem with food." Well, no, because
They
that's
have
not the
got different
biology.
hormones.
Yeah,
So, for example, if I go out for lunch, right, I will look at the menu and I'll want to order everything. right?
Mm,
I really, really like food. And I
mm,
used to edit Observer Food Monthly, and I know a lot about food. I know a lot about taste. And I know a lot of food tastes good because cream and butter and oil and all that stuff's gone into it. So I will go out for lunch and I'll want to order everything because it feels like a treat. Right? I'm
mm,
treating myself as such a treat. When I watch my slim friends have lunch, they will literally order a little bit of fish and some broccoli. Like to me, that is almost unthinkable. The idea of go for lunch and eat a little bit of fish and some broccoli
mm,
is out of my experience. I'm just like, why would you do that?
mm,
So I'm so there's also a psychological kind of thing about who am I on the planet? I'm
mm.
someone that likes food, I'm someone that likes cooking, I'm someone that likes going out and eating and trying and testing. And I think it's sort of sexy and I think it's sort of abundant. And I watch people eating a bit of fish and a bit of broccoli. And I used to think, now I am the person with a bit of fish and a bit of broccoli. And I've
Yeah.
had to detach myself, which has been interesting and difficult from that person, that Lucy, who's saying, let's eat, let's drink, let's go to the cheese shop and buy as much cheese as we possibly can.
Let's have the pudding platter.
Yeah, let's have the pudding platter. Because it's about kind of saying, I'm someone that's living life to the full. I'm someone that's going to eat cheese and cream and whatever else. I'm going to go for, I'm going
But
to have
also,
it.
it's a feeding frenzy when you go to a restaurant like
Yeah.
that.
But it isn't when you're pushing around half a lemon sole and a piece of broccoli. So that's a difficult one. But that is what slim people do, I noticed. They
Yeah,
just
but that's because
eat,
they don't have this compulsion.
or they're amazingly controlled, or they see lunch as
Yes,
something.
there are those ones, and then those, but they, I find that they tend to be very hangry. You know,
Okay,
they tend
they're
to be
having
very
to control
highly
themselves.
strung. They're doing it because
Mm.
I mean, their willpower is astonishing. I don't have that kind of willpower. I'm not someone who can override my own biology, but there are people, and I do know them who will do that, and they are amazing. But
Yeah,
they also tend to be people who are brilliant at sport, or they have this incredible sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
disciplinary thing, or they can sort of they compete. They don't just play tennis; they compete. That part.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So
I'll play
yeah,
tennis for 10 minutes and then go off and have a smoothie and consider. But these are people who will kind of enter
they're
tournaments.
focused. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
focused,
So
yeah.
I then thought, well, I've got to reposition how I feel about this stuff. I've got to revision myself as a different person. So then I've got to think it's about the quality of a conversation. It's about the joy of being with a friend. It's not about eating every single thing on the menu because that's what you want to do. But it's painful. It's painful because rather than saying, yes, could I have this, and then I have that, and if I could have a sticky toffee pudding and some cream and some ice cream, that'd be great. I have to reposition myself. And that means I've had to reposition myself and how I think about myself. And that's interesting. It's,
Do
I
you
I
feel
think that's part of it.
do you feel calmer as a result of it all?
No, I mean, I've always been, I mean, I'm a kind of odd combination of being high energy, but also quite chill. In terms
You're
of
always quite.
Ayurvedic, I'm quite a kapha. I'm kind of, I'm quite, I think I'm quite chill. Other people might not agree with you, but I've got a lot of energy.
Mm.
And what I found is just on a practical level, my ability to do exercise like yoga, I love doing, dancing, I love doing, is massively increased because I can
That's something that's
reposition.
happened to me as well because I think it's a confidence thing. I think, I don't now go to my Pilates class and think, oh my God, I'm just a wildebeest amongst gazelles. Um,
Yes, I'd look in the mirror and think, who is
yeah,
that
that's
great big,
okay. I
who's
mean,
that great big fat blob? And it was
I
me.
don't look at myself and think, wow. I just look at myself and think, okay, that's fine. I don't hate that.
Yes.
Um, so and just from a sort of mechanical point of view, it's just easier if you don't weigh so much.
Yeah, I'm not
It's
lugging 4 stone
yeah,
around trying to
it's
do a
just
headstand.
yeah, and your knees, like I said, I have this rheumatoid arthritis, which I've always had. My knees don't hurt as much anymore, and I don't get any back problems because I'm not carrying an enormous, great big, tub of lard around with me every day. And so there's a snowball effect, which I think is another thing that people don't talk about enough around these drugs. I mean, I think there's something to be said about the fact that these things are basically destroying the diet industry. And the diet industry is fighting back very hard because
Yes,
it's
by saying
fighting,
don't, that's right, because they're stuffed,
they're
right?
fighting for their
I mean,
existence.
I don't need to go to. I mean, Weight Watchers has shut down. I mean,
Shut down,
I
and
don't
I
need to
don't
buy
need to
the
buy a
airtime.
book
No,
on how
no,
to diet.
no,
I don't need to buy a Slim Fast shake or whatever the hell it's
no,
called. Other
neither do I.
shakes are available, but
Yeah,
so there's a lot of negative stuff around. Oh, I took Ozempic and I grew too much nose hair, or I don't know, silly stories, the endless stories. But I think there's an element of, well, okay, these things, no drug is ever perfect, is it?
no,
People die, people can die from paracetamol, and
yeah,
yet
yeah,
everyone takes paracetamol, and the world is a better place because we can have paracetamol. And yes, it's awful because some people are allergic to it, but the vast majority of people get benefits from it. And I think this is probably going to be the case with the GLP-1s. And yes, they can cause gallstones, but then that's what happens when you lose weight anyway. So it's kind of all kind of in the same thing. And I'm sure there are problems with them for some people, but for the vast majority of people, I think they are absolutely life-changing, which is what you were
yes,
saying in your piece,
yes, absolutely. And I mean, people do come and say to me, should I be on them? Shouldn't I be on them? I mean, I'm not a doctor, okay? So I would say to everybody, if you want to explore going on them,
Really.
talk to the doctor, talk to the pharmacist. I haven't had any side effects, right? So I've been very fortunate.
Mm,
So for me, it's been amazing. So in the piece, what I was saying was, what might have been different for me if I hadn't spent my life battling my weight, and I really have done. I
mm,
really have done. And for anyone that's listening to this podcast, which hopefully be lots of people for whom this will resonate,
mm,
it's horrible.
mm,
Okay, so I also don't then, and I've been shamed for it. I've shamed myself probably more than anyone else. I've pretended I like my body when I haven't liked my body because I don't want to hand it on to my kids, particularly my daughter, although it's not just a female thing. So I don't talk about stuff like that.
yeah,
Or they know I've been on the drugs. I don't want to be shamed for taking medication for
no,
something that's really changed my life. And I can see, rightly or wrongly, that people react differently to me. And I think, well, if I hadn't have been stomping about like a great big gruffalo, maybe I would have attracted high level partners.
yeah.
Maybe I would
I
have
mean,
had a
maybe
life.
you'd be Gwyneth Paltrow by now.
Maybe I'll be
Then
Gwyneth
you
Paltrow.
are Gwyneth Paltrow
I am
more.
good at voucher. But so of course that's silly in other ways, but it's also interesting because there's a pang of it, which is, well, if these have been, if I've been able to take these in my 20s, what life would I have had?
Mm,
Because rather than having all that noise and all that shame and all that self-loathing and all that stuff you get,
mm.
I would have glided through life like a slimmy person, like, and how would that have been? And that's what I'm sort of saying. And on top of that, how is it when you have to reposition yourself in your mind?
Yes,
Someone
I
who,
think that's interesting. Having to rethink yourself in an as a non-fat person is really a big deal psychologically, I think. Yes.
yeah,
And because it's about very simple stuff. It's about, getting dressed in the evening to go to a dinner or to whatever, and not bursting into tears because everything you put on makes you look like a fat heifer.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
you just put something on and it looks okay. I mean, it's quite interesting because I sometimes catch myself, you know, because I've always, whenever I've seen myself, how you get that thing where you're walking down the street and you see a sort of fat old woman walking towards you and you think, who the hell is that? And then you think,
It is
shit, that's me.
you.
It's me in the shop window.
Oh,
God,
it's just
that's awful.
awful.
But I now have I have the reverse thing, which is I'm walking down the street and I see this relatively okay looking female coming towards me. And I think, God, who's that? And then I go, wow, it's actually me. I
Yeah,
don't look
yeah,
horrendous. And
yeah,
that's actually really nice, actually. And it
yeah.
is kind of, it's very life affirming because you're not permanently avoiding yourself or the vision of yourself. That's good. It's good.
And I think when I asked my mother, bless her, when I obviously got very thin and I obviously wasn't eating and I was obviously throwing peas out of the window. And I was obviously emotionally disturbed,
Mm.
right? That doesn't come from a place of feeling good about yourself. It doesn't
No.
come from a place of feeling securely attached. It doesn't come from a place of thinking I can take up space in the world. That's, you know, why didn't you do something about
What
it?
you say about the take-up, well, I think the answer to that is that it's very difficult when someone is in that space.
Yes.
I actually have the daughter of a friend of mine who is who I think is anorexic.
Mm,
And you know, I just know the signs because I've done it myself, and it's
mm.
just you know you can't tell that often they're in denial. The person is in denial. They're high on their own deprivation. That's
Yes,
it. It's a kind
yes,
of, you know, it's an addictive feeling
yes, it is. It's in the realm
that
of addiction. Yeah,
that feeling of emptiness is addictive.
yes,
I think I think it makes you a bit high, actually.
yes. Well,
Um,
I mean, my mother said, well, back in the day, there wasn't that sort of level of psychological support, which is true. And she also said, I just didn't really know what to do. I
yeah,
just hoped you'd get over it.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not
I
blaming her for that, but I
no,
think,
I mean, but what often happens is that people get ill. In my case, I got terrible tonsillitis, and it just sort of knocked me out of it, really. But you know, there there are moments when you know you do want to intervene, but it's like people with this problem can be so defensive,
yeah,
and it is about not wanting to take up space. And I've noticed that it's often girls who are quite voluptuous,
yeah.
because the attention is just exhausting.
Yes, I think that's a really big part of it as well, that the attention you get at an age when you do not want that attention.
No,
I mean,
you're
look
not
at
ready
the
for
young
it.
girl that on my Facebook, she was a blonde, she had breasts, and she just didn't want that attention.
No. And you're not ready for it. You're absolutely not ready for it. And also, yeah, you know, and and so the not taking up space thing is what leads to that.
Yes, you're shrinking yourself
You're shrink.
whilst also thinking, and when people say you look so good, you look amazing, of course you want to keep going. I
But
mean,
there's also a reverse thing. There's a reverse thing that happens, and I think sometimes with weight. So if you're if you're in a situation where that you don't really want people to see you, weight, flesh, fat can be a sort of carapace.
yeah, yeah. It's a
It,
really handy way of hiding.
it's a handy way of pushing people away
Yeah,
because
totally.
if you're overweight, that's a kind of it's a sort of body armor, literally,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
It's you're padding, you're giving yourself padding to absorb the blows.
Yes.
And that's why people eat for emotional reasons, because if you put on lots of weight, it's a sort of protective layer, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
completely. I've seen that a lot with
yeah,
clients and people that they're actually very scared of losing weight because they're
yeah,
not really sure
because
what
it
will happen.
exposes them, it makes them more vulnerable. And I go back to this all the time. It's just that obesity is not just a physical thing.
Mm,
You know, it's so much more complicated than that.
mm.
It's a mental thing. It's to do it's I think it's a I think I actually would go so far as to say that I think obesity is a sort of psychological illness. I think
Yeah, I
it's
think it
to do
is.
with mental health.
Yeah, and people say, well, it isn't, but it is, and this is what I really want to highlight. And the Mail has done their best, to include these things in the pieces that I write about it. And people keep saying, well, why do you keep writing about it? I keep writing about it, A, because people want to read it, and B, because this dialogue conversation we're having, I think is really
Yeah,
important for people to understand.
yeah,
It comes from somewhere. It's not just because you're a great big fat pig. It's not
no,
because you can't stop eating. It's not because you're starving yourself. It comes from somewhere.
no,
And
no,
that's important to know. Now, I can't go back and tell, my dad not to call me Thunder Thighs. I can't go back and say to my mum, why didn't you feed us good food so that I wasn't a great big fat child? There's nothing I can do about that now. But I can see the timeline
yeah,
of my relationship with food, my body, shame, disgust, being pregnant, hallelujah, getting to the stage where I thought, actually, my body's done a great job. It's functioning. It gave birth to children. Thank you,
Yeah.
body. Just got to the stage of acceptance, just when someone gave, the doctor basically prescribed Manjaro, and my world changed.
Mm.
And it really has changed. And I
Yeah.
am so grateful for whoever it was that made it. Right? I'm so grateful that I spent what, a year less on those jabs. Does it mean that I'm free from my fear now? No, because I want to stay a size 10, 10 to 12. And that means I am much more careful. I have to be. I can't go back to how I was because otherwise I'm going to put it all back on again. And it's expensive. So
Mm.
people say, but doesn't everyone put weight back on? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't.
I think it's, I mean, having been on these things for quite a long time, I would say that it will re-educate your eating. They
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
it does change the way you eat. It has with me. I mean, for example, I just don't have the same need for sugar that I used to have.
Mm,
So,
mm.
I used to be somebody who would devour a Kit Kat. Sugar for me was the thing. And I'm, very sort of insulin resistant or whatever the hell I don't, whatever it's called. And now I don't really have sugar in my diet at all.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not a pudding person anymore. I
Yeah,
was
I don't.
always a
Yeah,
pudding
I don't
person.
really. Yeah, that's right.
I'm not
Actually,
a pudding
thinking
person
about
anymore.
it. Yeah, no, not yeah. I think that's true. I
I'm
don't.
just
I'm not that
not.
bothered anymore. And I
And
used to be
I
very bothered.
and I think the sugar thing is something that is learnt in childhood. When we're little, we're given a sweet as a reward, aren't we?
Well, people still have cake sales. I'm like, why are you having
Cake
cake?
sales, all that kind of stuff. So I think if you grew up like we did in the 70s, where there
Mm,
was sort of lots of highly unregulated sweeties around, I think the sugar thing is learnt then. So but these drugs have helped me unlearn the sugar thing.
yes.
Now if I have, you know, a sweet or a piece of, I feel like I'm sort of, in orbit. It just makes me feel really weird and kind of crazy.
Mm,
But
mm,
when you're always eating sugar, you don't get that. But I
yeah.
do, So, and I realized, wow, okay, that has a lot of sugar in it, actually. So that's interesting. It's definitely done that. And this is part of the same thing. It's also reduced my propensity to drink alcohol
Mm,
because again, alcohol is really just sugar, isn't it?
yeah,
Um,
but delicious sugar.
delicious fermented sugar.
Delicious.
And but it makes you less prone to that now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really drinking very much then anyway. I mean, I probably drink once or twice a week, if that. But I think what it's done is it's maybe, my portion sizes are smaller. I'm able to exercise more. Am I super relaxed about it? No, I may never be super
But
relaxed
Lucy, you
about it.
can always go back on them.
Exactly. So that's the
That's the
other
thing.
choice.
So I
Thank
think
you.
that's
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
next phase.
yes, that is
What
microdosing.
I
Yeah,
think what they need to do is, so I don't know. I still take Manjaro. I still have it in my fridge, but I take it about every 3 weeks. I have
yeah,
a
yeah,
dose.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and what happens is that I don't eat for sort of the kind of the sort of immediate effects last for a few days, but then it tapers off and it carries on working.
Yes, so I think that's the other thing. So that doesn't mean to say come off it and eat like a pig, put all your weight back on and then go back on it. Don't yo-yo on it, but you're
I
right.
don't know, just keep. So I don't know about microdosing. I don't know what the doses would be, but I think that the sensible thing for the drug companies to do next would be to produce something that allows you to just keep it topped up a little
Yes,
bit.
that would be then that would be a
Yeah,
maintenance.
a maintenance
Yeah,
dose.
that would work. So just in conclusion, this podcast, which I hope people have got a lot out of it, which we've really done because I wanted to build on that and also because a lot of people were very interested in our experiences on being on weight loss drugs, but also our experiences of our bodies and weight and shame and all that. So I hope, what would be a takeaway? What would you really want someone to hear?
Just I think you know, listen to yourself. Listen to your be honest with yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you have an illness of any kind, most people will take a drug
Yes.
to cure it.
Yeah.
And I think see this in the same way. If you are unable to control your weight for whatever reason, no judgment. There are all kinds of reasons why people struggle. This is available to you.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it. Use it.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty about it. Um,
Ashamed about it because I'm
don't-
sick to death of people. So I'm
yeah,
very open about it. People say, you've
yeah.
lost so much weight. How have you done it? And I don't say, oh, because I've turned into an amazing control
Oh
freak.
yes. No, I did meditation.
Yeah. And I eat nothing but chia seeds and I run every day. I say because I'm on weight loss drugs.
Yeah,
I've lost weight because I've been on
yeah.
Manjaro
And I
or
think
Ozempic. If you'll have heard of
that's
Ozempic. I've been
but
on weight
that's
loss.
you and I are the same. If someone says to me, "Oh, you look very good," I say, "Well, that's probably because I had Botox 2 weeks ago."
Yeah, that's right. I'm not peddling some false idea that I look this way,
So,
that, and I just, I
yeah, but
just have lost weight, but
with
it
all
just
of
fell
these
off me. I'll just say I've been on weight loss drugs. That's why I've lost so much.
exactly.
I'm not
But
ashamed of it.
with all of these things, we are all so lucky actually to live in an age where
Yes,
this
yeah,
is available
yeah,
to,
yeah. Yeah.
and where we don't have to, to it's just, yeah, I'm just grateful for it really. And like I said, I don't use them very often because I don't know. I sort of find a balance with them. I think I still quite like my food, and I find that if I take Manjaro every week, then I just don't eat it. I don't enjoy my food at all.
Yeah,
So
that's not. Yeah, yeah. I like food. I
I,
like.
I don't like that sort of. I feel I miss that. Um, I suppose it's the pleasure. I mean, because it does. If you do take it sort of seriously, it will basically take all the pleasure out of food.
Yes, it's the weirdest thing walking around
Oh,
the market, not thinking there's not a single thing
yeah,
here I want to
but I
eat.
want to eat. No.
But in the long term, that's not healthy, right? You do actually have to eat, right?
Yeah,
But it
exactly.
will retrain your brain. Now, I've just remembered I'm doing a webinar about all this on March the 10th, everybody. So if anyone wants to come, it's on Eventbrite under my
Brilliant.
name, Lucy
Excellent.
Cavendish, and on my website, lucycavendishlovecoach.com. It's on there. And I'll be delving into all this stuff, and people can tell their stories and really go into the psychology behind it, why this has happened. So people feel heard.
Yeah,
People don't feel heard about it because they're so busy being shamed.
yeah.
They're so busy being told, well, you should do it natural, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully people listening to this, take what
But I
Sarah's
mean, I
saying.
feel the same about, sorry, childbirth, which is that people say, "Oh, you should do it naturally. If you're not doing it naturally, you're not getting, it's not real." No, that's nonsense.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I did it naturally, of course, just to shame.
Do whatever works for you. It's
Just to shame you. No, no, no. That's because I'm a great big hippie. But and kind of mad. But if someone says to me, I want to go to hospital and have every single drug under the sun, do it any
fine
way you want to do it, right?
to you.
You don't
Your
have to be a
body,
great big hippie like me.
yeah.
You can just do it.
Well, look, no, you're now a slim hippie.
Now a very slim hippie. Yeah, but yeah, I'm a slim hippie.
You can
Yeah.
go and be one of those annoying people at festivals who wears little sort of
Little tiny, yeah.
short.
Because that's the other thing that I've noticed. I know we're finishing up, is that my what I'm wearing is complete. I've gone from wearing tents to wearing, as you know, hot pants,
Yeah.
mini skirts.
We had dinner the other
But,
day, and I must tell the viewers that Lucy was honestly dressed like a sort of rock star. It was extraordinary.
yeah, I've gone completely bonkers. And I've gone back to being at about 25 when I was
Yeah.
slim and wearing tiny skirts and
Mini skirts,
mini skirts and high boots. And it's fabulous. And I don't care that I'm nearly 60. I don't care.
yeah, it's good. You don't look 60. Anyway,
Thank you so much for
brilliant.
agreeing to come and have this conversation with me because I could of course just bang on my own podcast every week, but that would be very narcissistic.
Good. That was great, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you all. Get in touch about the webinar, and I'll probably do a course and it'll go further. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Sarah.